Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. Okay, beautiful. So Dyra's with us again and doing the translation live. So, yes, so Lena, you can dial in the phone number, telephone. Yes, with headsets. So we'll just give Lena a moment to connect to the phones, and we're grateful to have Dyra here translating with us and the love of God with us.
Listo, gracias.
Okay. Yesterday we were looking at holiness blessing the world and blessing everything, every thought, every feeling, every emotion. And this is the dissolution of those concepts, that those are real. We can ask Jesus. Jesus is an emotion, a concept. It's an idea. It arises out of the desire to have an experience of emotion. And it's used by the ego to prove separation, attempt. Something's happening to me. That's how emotions arise. There's something that's happening now or seemed to be happening in the past. A memory will come up of something that seemed to happen so that the ego can pretend there's actually a past, that something happened in the past. So now we're being gently led by Jesus to see there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Lesson 38. So somewhere in consciousness, there must be an idea that there's something that cannot be achieved through holiness. There must be an idea in consciousness that holiness is not powerful. And it's so much gratitude being reminded by Jesus that these thoughts of God are always pointing up. It's like, look how powerful the light is, your identity. There's nothing your holiness cannot do. My holiness, the holiness, not as a personal holiness. There's no personal holiness. Can we find a personal holiness in there? Is there a person who has holiness? Let's look for one in there and see in truth and honesty of God and the light of divine being. To turn toward love. And then release the denials through miracles. Just, okay, Jesus, give it to me straight. This is the Jesus give it to me straight class. That's acceptance of divine power. Give it to me straight. No sideways turns. No little Ferris wheel loop-de-loops of no to God. No projections on our brothers. Because we can see that keeps us in the thought bubble. So tonight I'll share about the thought bubble, what Jesus is sharing about this little bubble of thought that has this ring of desire on the outside to keep it seeming like, and we're inside of a bubble and we can't fight our way out. Jesus is saying it's no more than a bubble that you blow when you were a kid and a little bubble floats out and goes poof. Yet we act like the bubble we're in terms of staying in the dream is made of steel. You know, that we're in I can't get out, Jesus. So he knows that we believe it. We're trapped like that elephant in the circus. Where when he was little, they put a little rope around his leg and stake him to the ground, but with a big post. So he would pull and pull, and even though he was strong and he kept growing, he was strong, the post seemed like it was really strong. And then eventually the little stake would get smaller and smaller and smaller until it was like a little pin in the ground without any strength at all. But by then he had already been conditioned to think, I can't get free. So we've created a ring of desire, like this bubble that seems like still steel, and we can't break free of it because we like diving into the middle of hell. We like perception. Let's stay with the perception that we're separated. And Jesus goes, no, come look with me outside of all of this kerfuffling and look outside and notice that there's light here. There's something infinitely powerful, your holiness. There's nothing my holiness cannot do. So we ask Jesus, will you help me have a direct experience? I feel willing to have a direct experience that there's nothing that my holiness cannot do. He says, you carry the infinite power of God by your birthright. As a son of God that carries the power of all that is. Just notice the infinite nature of light and see that no corner of this world can be apart from infinite light. Your holiness reverses all the laws of the world. See that the light reverses. It doesn't. Is the light going to law school and taking classes about what the right law it needs to follow? Is it anxious or distressed that when it sees a police car on the side of the road, that it did something wrong? See that play in consciousness? It looks on the side of the road and then it sees a cop car, and you could just feel yourself like you're driving along and you look ahead down the road and there's a police car, its lights are flashing, and you just feel yourself go, I've got to check my speed. Now, Spirit's practical. It's not saying go around speeding. It's saying notice the play in consciousness to look out in the world and see that police car and want to play a game of I'm going to get caught. The hide and seek with the light. And the play of the police officer, that's a great little symbol right there. That there's some law of the world is violated, and now I'm going to pay a price for it because here he comes to give me a ticket. I'm going to get caught. I see the relishing of the get caught play. Look how many movies would we actually go to a movie where someone wasn't chasing somebody down? You can ask Jesus. Is that experience relished? Being chased down and hunted and caught and then getting mad about the ticket? Jesus is saying, you know, even that is a holy encounter. And I remember looking so closely at that because I could see there was a desire to have an inner, you know, with these concepts about police officers. See, that's a concept we have about God. He's coming to get us. And if we're bad, we don't follow the rules, we're going to be punished. And then I just felt so much love. And then the police car, they became a symbol of love. Like, and Christy and I were walking down the streets, and I think it was in Chapala, and a couple of police cars came by, and we just were like happy. There was no trick. We weren't playing the trick in consciousness of what did I do wrong, or, you know. I just notice sometimes, like if you're at the bank, like here at the bank, they have a guard that has a big gun, bazooka of some kind, AK-47. I don't know. And just notice how you feel when you see that. Like the eyes look at it. And you can ask Jesus, if I'm tightening up when I look over and I see a gun, am I in a denial? Did I just deny holiness? You can hear me out. That's all it is. It's using the body's eyes to look out for something to be fearful about and anticipate something bad's going to happen. So thank you, Jesus, for reminding us about holiness and to ask him to reveal what holiness is. I could see that play of, okay, it's very devout and your head's bowed. You can be like this, your head bowed meditation, and be in complete hell. He says you are in hell. But if your mind's wandering, you're in hell. You're diving deep into the dream and wanting to stay in there. Don't look, Jesus, you can't see me. I'm hiding down. I am hiding down in here. Don't look. You can't see me. I'm in the world. I think I've mentioned that before, where I don't know, might have been quite a long time ago. I wasn't in spirituality at all. And I remember thinking, I came into this world to hide from God. It's like, we know it. Jesus, do I know I'm here to try to have a game to hide from God, hide and go seek with God? Do I relish that hide and go seek with God? And do I like to pretend like I'm really mad about the hide and go seek game? Oh, all the laws of the world. Your holiness reverses all the laws of the world. With willingness to see the infinite power of being, that will reverse all the laws, all the little paper tiger law concepts. I want to be a paper tiger concept. Do I like the little paper tiger concepts, Jesus? It's really, yeah, I'm asking. It's no difference, like the little kids and they sit on the floor and they got their little army lined up and then they choo, 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 choo. I want to shoot them all down, knock them over. That play is that it's so beautiful when you start to see the little reflections of the way consciousness likes to play and kids playing with little toys and making them real and having little wars with little soldiers. Jesus says it doesn't stop there. See, so we're you have to admit he's right. Do I relish those little toy soldier fight, little duke it out movies? When you're just sitting there. I don't know what movie we're going to be given today. Sounds like it's at 4. We'll put out the notice. Don't know what it is. Don't know if it'll have any of that kind of thing in it. It's just helpful when he gives that assignment, just sit there just quietly. Instead of like getting really embroiled in the movie, you're just kind of watching the play of consciousness. You're kind of sitting there up in the control booth. Don't even sit in the audience, sit up in the clouds, right? With Jesus. We're going to sit up there and, he's talking in your ear. He's telling you all about, here's what's happening. And then let's just get curious let's get interested and just notice. Don't get involved in them. Just kind of notice like that. You could just feel that excitement building when there's a car chase, or somebody's around. Just start to notice that, oh, I like to jump in there, that something's really happening. Just kind of see that the jump into pleasure. Or the feeling of pain as soon as someone says a little sentence and you immediately you're back when you were little and you got hit by somebody, see, the consciousness is it builds a little web of lies. There's a little web of lies coming through the desire for the web. Your holiness reverses all the laws of the world. It feels helpful to have that direct experience. That's what he's saying. These light circles are for revelation, revelatory readiness, for it to let it bloom, that everything he says is true. So let's let this one bloom. Jesus, does my holiness reverse all the laws of the world? He said it can't do anything else. It just is. It is beyond every restriction of time, space, distance, and limits of any kind. So if those are experienced, time, space, distance, and limits, those are desired, yet holiness is a holiness, infinite light. See any challenge with time, space, distance, or limits. Jesus is the light synonymous with holiness. That's all there is. Holiness. Your holiness is totally unlimited in its power because it establishes you as a son of God. Unlimited in its power. Is there a desire to experience my power is limited? He's just saying, but you like trying to pretend like you can limit God's power. In truth, in the light of divine being, is it possible to limit God's power? Do we relish having a little experience? We would like to give God a little boundary where he can't come in. Like, not in here. That's that ring, that outer ring of desire. I'm going to hold God out. I'm going to dive in as deep as I can to this perception and all this proof he's not out there. He can't find me inside here, inside this little bubble of the dream. Stay out of my dream, Jesus. I'm having too much fun being chased by a police and given a ticket. And then going to court. And what do? You're going to go to court. I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to show them how I do not deserve a ticket. They see, it's like you're in the wrong courtroom. Just go down one door, leave that courtroom, go to the next door down and see that ticket never happened. But as long as you believe that ticket happened, you need to ask me my guidance and what to do. But you know that I can just remember, like, okay, so you're driving down this, you're driving down the road, okay, and you can just feel that see an object. Here's a police, the red lights. You feel yourself freeze. A desired experience. And then you start thinking, well, if see, here goes into a future here, if I get a ticket, or if I slow down, maybe he won't catch me. You see, it just gets it. See that little play? If I slow down, he won't get me. Like, is the light thinking all this stuff? The light's just kind of just here. It's not having a little plan for how to deal when it gets caught by that police officer. And then, well, and if he takes me to court, and then you'll think about, I remember, then I'd be thinking about, well, in our, then you're thinking, oh, now if I just bought that why didn't I buy that little radar anti-detection device? Here's the mind. If I'd only bought that, then I wouldn't be caught. You see how it's relishing the whole story of maybe getting caught, but not getting caught. And then suddenly there'll be a picture of a courtroom and you're standing in front of a judge and you're going, and then you're going to review all the videos online that how people have escaped their tickets. And, and how they're going to prove that the officer's wrong, that you weren't going that fast because he didn't quality control the speed device, that little laser thing. He didn't quality control it. So you can go before see, is the light getting involved? You see how the mind gets involved? It's planning. It's going to have a little detour where, so that's like a level of dreaming. See that little mind wandering and, a little story about this is how I'm going to be safe. See, I can find safety and comfort. I can find safety and comfort by defending myself from this and get saved if I can talk my way in that court. But then notice under all that whole storyline, the relish. Whoa. And just start watching movies. Just let Jesus show you the relishing. You'd be sitting there, and especially if you've been spending some time with them and looking at desire, and all of a sudden you'll be watching bodies blown all over and just go, you just see that little, I really enjoy this little part of the movie. But no, the ego plays, oh, that's really terrible, and don't do that, and I'm going to go out and save the world so nobody gets blown up. Meanwhile, watching thousands of movies about people being blown up. We're going to go to war because we're going to have peace. When does it happen? Like, we can't even learn for thousands of years of history, if there could be any use for history whatsoever. The story of, armies and Genghis Khan and, the next one, World War II, Hitler. When has ever war brought peace? It can't. I think we better stick with holiness. Let's stick with holiness. Your holiness is totally unlimited in its power because it establishes you as the Son of God. Jesus, do I have a desire not to experience myself as a son of God? Well, at least it's clear. It's out there now. And when you get to the, I don't want to be a son of God, not one little iota, not one teeny, eeny, weeny bit do I want. Now the light can move in there with willingness to go, okay, obviously I'm wrong again. You're right that I really relish this world and relish not being holy. And relish not seeing that there's nothing my holiness cannot do. So why might as well ask, Jesus, do I relish not seeing that there's nothing my holiness cannot do? Do I just like relish that? Not seeing that it's all solved now. I'm willing to ask for a miracle on that. Show me where I'm not willing to choose holiness. But see that there's no judgment in that. It's just, okay, I don't want holiness. It's just an omission. No ballyhooing, no guilt-free zone. Just, Muji calls it sober seeing. When you sober see just directly that you don't need a drug to see that the light's here. And then this is Jesus's sober seeing, is look with me to see the desire that you're not that. This is as sober as it gets. No dreaming, no sidewinding, no dancing with the devil. It's like, do I desire not to be holy, not to be the Son of God? And then you just get that little, oh, I do. Okay, show it to me. Go ahead, let it rise into the admission, rise. Because your holiness protects you from whatever arises. And holiness is not getting blown over if the desires rise up. As we said, sometimes you're sitting there and it feels like smoke. You feel like you're really in a sweat lodge as these energies. Again, the only question then is, Jesus, am I keeping, holding, or releasing? If he says you're releasing, then just stay with the light and just let it play. If it's holding, okay, there's obviously something I need to see. Then show me what I'm really, really, really super ooper duper trying to hide from in terms of personal identity. And just every time, without exception, I'm asking him now, without exception, it will, whenever he's saying you're holding, it's like 100%. It's a little chunk of personal identity down in there, that contraction to deny the miracle, deny love. So then you just, so what if a resistance comes up? What's that doing to light? Jesus, I desire resistance. Because notice that every single thing, even resistance, comes and goes. And then you can just do the light test with it. Okay, ask him, Jesus, is the light the same as holiness? I always get yes for that. Okay, so light saying so, okay, I'm feeling and experience a resistance. Just let's really look, what is resistance actually doing? Like, notice how there's an I and a feel and resistance. Okay, so that's a sentence. It's a thought. Now, let's just see for fun if that I feel resistance does anything in light of divine being. Can we find it in there? Is the light running? The light's just there. Okay, whatever we feel, the light's still here. And then we just go, okay, Jesus, is resistance, am I holding on to something? It's just unwillingness to look. Jesus, is resistance just not looking in to see? It's resistance from happiness. So you can ask him if you feel resistance. Jesus, am I resisting my own happiness? And he, am I resisting my own holiness? Yet the light's here, I'm already holding, but I'm resisting my holding. It's like, wait a minute. So that's like a little trick. So it's a feeling. It's just like seeing the police officer out there. So we feel resistance. And then it goes into a story of resistance being more powerful than holiness. Ask Jesus. Is that's interesting. We can get really, So resistance is a play of time, not to look to see that there's no resistance whatsoever. Is that true, Jesus? You can ask him. It's a dog holding on to a bone, but the bone is dead. It's not alive. It's just, I don't want to look. That's all it is. Ask Jesus, Jesus. So it's resistance. The way the I says, I'm not looking. It's a little terrible two tantrum. Meanwhile, surrounded by infinite light. Meanwhile, holiness. That's why he says, okay, you feel resistance? My holiness blesses this resistance. There is nothing my holiness. So here comes resistance. And we could bring it in now because we have the power to. Mine has the power to resist right now. And Jesus says, yes. So you can play with that. Okay. I want to resist you more than anything, Jesus, right now. And then go, there's nothing my holiness cannot do. And see what happens to resistance. Is holiness running away, changing? And we start to see how hilarious this is. Like we're sitting there in like a big old puddle of resistance, surrounded by infinite love and light. Your holiness is totally unlimited in its power because it establishes you as a son of God. Thank you, Jesus. At one with the mind of his creator. Jesus, am I in one with my creator? He says the only way you can ever be happy is to see that you're at one with your creator. Is my creator light? I'm the same as light. Am I still light when I'm making a little story up about the police officer coming to get me and give me the ticket? Can my holiness bless even that? Through your holiness, the power of God is made manifest. The power of God is made manifest. Through your holiness, the power of God is made available. See that in holiness and infinite light, giving and receiving are one. It's like, Jesus, is that supreme happiness, seeing that giving and receiving are one, the same? Giving all and receiving all the same. Yeah, the joy of these fireside chats with Jesus, so he can just remind us we're the same as given all that's given by the Father. And there is nothing the power of God cannot do. So we can ask him, Jesus. Oh my gosh, that's so in the bubble, isn't it? Where that belief that there's things that God cannot do. God, I'm going to prove to you, you cannot save me from my little fiefdom here. That's how we want God to be wrong, isn't it, Jesus? That he can't save us from our little fiefdom. Your holiness then can remove all pain, can end all sorrow, and can solve all problems. Jesus, will you show me that my holiness can end all sorrow? Can it solve, does the light solve all problems? Will you show me? It can do so in connection with yourself and with anyone else. The universality of holiness. It is equal in its power to help anyone because it is equal in its power to save anyone. If you are holy, so is everything God created. You are holy because all things he created are holy, and all things he created are holy because you are. Just focusing on these things is really just focusing on what we are rather than what we're not melts away the desire to not be that. In today's exercises, we'll apply the power of your holiness to all problems. Difficulties or suffering in any form that you happen to think of in yourself or in someone else. We will make no distinctions because there are no distinctions. Because there's no one out there that's holy, unholy. Holiness means there is no one out there. In the 4 longer practice periods, each preferably to last a full 5 minutes, repeat the idea for today, close your eyes, and then search your mind for any sense of loss. Or unhappiness of any kind as you see it. Try to make as little distinction as possible between a situation that is difficult for you and one that is difficult for someone else. Oh, that's so great. Yeah, Jesus is showing us how that puts it outside of ourselves. It's going to put a problem. Look, there's Joe Blow over there, and they have a problem. And I could see that in the play of consciousness, like someone would seemingly, there'd be someone expressing something out there and thinking, man, I'm glad I don't have that. But just believing it's out there makes an out there, and it's two, duality. So now it's like anything seems to appear out there, just go to the man and go, okay, is there anything for me to see here? Sometimes he says yes, sometimes he says no. If he says yes, you look. If he says no, it's a cloud floating by. It's a little cloud. In the 4 longer practice periods, each preferably to last 5 minutes, repeat the idea for today, close your eyes, and then search your mind for any sense of loss or unhappiness of any kind. Any kind. Oh, this is so helpful, Jesus. Whether it seems outside or inside. So he's showing it's all the same. If we see unhappiness on the screen, we're identifying with it, and it's real. We're making it real. That's why he says, do not correct your brother. Because it's making it real. It's making a brother that has a problem. It makes it real. Now, he may have you express something as part of divine function, but you're not making a correction. See, you can watch that. I could really see that play in consciousness. Like a brother would speak, and then the ego, I could see the play in consciousness. It would go out into the memory bin, that little store, that little filing cabinet, and then it would compare whatever brother would say, okay, do I agree with that or not? Then, the conscious comes back out, and I'm going to fix that. I'm going to correct that. See, that's the play of the movement of consciousness. Meanwhile, you're in hell, pretending like the solution and salvation is going to be when you tell that brother and correct him. But divine expression is very different. It's different. It's not, you're not fixing something in form anymore. You're just being and then saying what Jesus tells you, because that's divine expression for the whole. You're not going out and hunting your brother down to find something wrong with him so you can show him where he's wrong. That's why Jesus really points to this. Yes, he's saying really have that in awareness. That's why you speak my voice, because we're so used to speaking this horizontal ding, 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 ding. It's going to go out there, and I'm going to convince that cop out there I don't deserve a ticket. See that's defending. That's defending, even thinking about it, doing it. And you'll just see that you'll just go into a little dead nap there and have a big plan for defending. And then you defend the defense. That's another play. Like we defend that we have to defend against the cop. They're saying to stay out of that traffic. Come back to the home base of light, happiness. Close your eyes and search your mind for any sense of loss or unhappiness as you see it. Try to make as little distinction as possible between a situation that is difficult for you and one that is difficult for someone else. Again, the same. This is the same. So whatever beliefs come out about a brother over there feeling or thinking something, there's no brother over there thinking and feeling. So you got to go like the and go, oh, what belief am I holding on to about myself? Identify the situation specifically and also the name of the person concerned. Use this form for applying the idea for today. This is a helpful reminder to be specific so you can just let it fully bloom in front. Okay, here's how the miscreation is created. I'm thinking of some person. And just notice how the mind it blooms out a story. The last time I saw them, they took my cookie away, whatever, you know. So Joe came and he took my cookie away. Okay, and then we apply it. In this situation involving Joe, in which I see myself, there's nothing that my holiness cannot do. So I see Joe. Okay, and then we can use the cop example for herself. In this situation where I see that cop and I feel like I'm in a snit, a tight knot, in this situation, or involving that police officer, involving that police officer in which I see myself, there's nothing my holiness cannot do. In this situation involving Joe, in which he sees himself as upset, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. In this situation involving seeming like Joe is upset, in which he seems to see himself as upset, there's nothing my holiness cannot do. You see somebody throwing a temper tantrum. See, that would be a perfect lesson to use when the seemingly informed. Jesus saying, yes, either just stay with Jesus. It's a reminder, just stay with Jesus, or you can use this lesson. Somebody's throwing a temper tantrum. In this situation involving Joe, throwing a temper tantrum, he sees himself as this being valuable. There's nothing my holiness cannot do. So it's always coming back to our holiness, that we are holy. That's joining with Jesus in a moment of light. He's saying, yes, using these lessons is joining with him in a moment in light. And then we're not jumping into the traffic of the wrong-mindedness. From time to time, you may want to vary this procedure and add some relevant thoughts of your own. You might like, for example, to include thoughts such as, there's nothing my holiness cannot do because the power of God lies in it. And I'm asking, so he's really encouraging this inspiration, in little ways of singing praise to God that start coming. Introduce whatever variations appeal to you, but keep the exercise focus on the theme. There's nothing my holiness cannot do. The purpose of today's exercise is to begin to instill in you a sense that you have dominion over all things because of what you are. Dominion over all things. Not dominion over some things. But we really have to learn the difference between dominion and a fiefdom. It's benevolent dominion. It's unprotected dominion. It's not like a fortress on a hill. It's the recognition of sameness of all things, that all things being of God, so nothing to defend or fight for because they're already ours. If you had a king that owned the whole world, what is he going to fight? Nothing, because there's only one. In the frequent shorter applications, apply the idea in its original form unless a specific problem concerning you or someone else arises or comes to mind. In that event, use the more specific form in applying the idea to it. Okay, Jesus, we'll spend a few minutes here. Thank you for, in this situation involving which I see myself, there's nothing my holiness cannot do. So Jesus, with a sense of humor, is reminding me, there's nothing my holiness cannot do, including help me remember this lesson all day. Oh. Is that true, Jesus? You can ask him. And to remember to use this lesson just as you have directed me. So I can remember my holiness, the infinite power of divine being of what I am. And remember it that these words of God, thoughts of God, these are thoughts. Ask Jesus, Jesus, are these lessons thoughts of God? Thoughts of God point to God, point to truth, point to infinite light. They float us up out of that little delusion bubble, that little bubble of delusion. They're just floating us up and out of the delusion and melting it as we go. Just melt it through the miracle. And he's telling me, so accepting these lessons and using them is acceptance of miracles. It's just a gentle way he's introducing the power, how powerful we are as infinite beings, not to get embroiled, and the power of searching the mind, searching in consciousness for where consciousness is pretending it's not unified. The light doesn't need to look for these things. So it's turning, I mean, he's just, oh my gosh, it's so amazing how he's turning how much we relish searching for proof that God is dead, to turn that energetic investment into searching, to search for places in the mind where we're actually denying ourselves infinite light. And to that inward turn and go, let me see, let me just look on this bubble, and in innocence. And then we admit with honesty of God, oh, I really like that ring of desire to hold myself trapped inside of a ring of desire, to not look out there and see, oh, light's everywhere. Thank you for the reminder, Jesus. So you can remind me that this is not a steel cage. It's not a little peg in the ground with a chain around her ankle. There's nothing withholding holiness from the mind other than the idea, the concept that it's not of value, that not being holiness has more value. That love, holiness has more value to us than anything, more precious than anything, gold, silver, 1,000 kingdoms. Thank you, Jesus, for reminding us every day of how holy and how God created us in truth without any sin. He says, this is, he says, this is completely unnatural to you, these things. Completely so, and so completely unnatural to you. Give them to me with willingness to be shown. Your power and infinite grace is given to you by the Father, infinitely Infinitely singing of joy. Infinite. So with that, encouraged to sing like the crickets of God, that nonstop joy of giving and receiving is one, just because it just is. There's no even a because. It doesn't even have words for just the singing. We'll invite Lori to come sing. So we can practice singing like the crickets of God, just singing and singing and singing. Oh, I got some words. Oh, it's so good. Is it all right for me to tell them, or you're going to tell them what we're doing?
Well, if you want to share it to the group so they can see it, but
Oh, okay. Oh, and put it in front of the camera?
we'll just come forward it. I think you can forward it. Or I can
Oh, I'll forward into the group,
put
right?
groups up there.
Okay. Oh, and she just sent this. I didn't see it till now, so I'll forward it. We're getting the words, everyone. Oh my gosh, it's so great. I just sent it to everyone. Okay. Okay.
So this is Feel the Real. And please sing along. Feel the real. The Father gives all power unto all. We are riders of the storm, bringers of light, saviors from the dark. Feel the real, the Father shines in our minds. Feel the real. Feel the real. The Father gives all power unto all. We are riders of the storm, bringers of light, saviors from the dark. Feel the real, the Father shines in our minds. Whoa. We are riders of the storm, bringers of light, saviors from the dark. Feel the real, the Father shines in our minds. Unlimited holiness, unlimited holiness, all powerful, unlimited holiness, all powerful, unlimited holiness, all powerful. In connection with my brother. 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 All things he created. All things he created.
holy holiness. Thank you. Thank you, Lori. And we'll see when we sing these little bhajans, she's going to start turning these. It feels like we'll see what comes in so that everyone can sing these with us. And we'll see if we can get some Spanish lyrics going too for some of them as they come in. Oh, love to all of you. So many hugs. So many hugs. Oh my gosh, thank you, Jesus, for teaching us to see no error and see only our holiness. Amen.